Something just happened that got me thinking about old age. It was about a relationship, really. That you think about the perfect counterpart and things. How long would it take for that to happen? And we're not getting any younger, so I just thought, yeah, when I'm 80, and then straight away, then when I thought about it, I thought, well, probably won't make it to 80. I think the thing is, people expect too much. They're not realistic. I'm pragmatic. I think I don't really think it's beyond 60 sort of thing, you know? It's like if we get beyond 60, that's a great life. You know, anything after that, bonus. That's how I'm looking at life. Like I think looking at 80 or these big numbers, I think it's just most people won't get there. And I thought about why. Of course, our eating habits, lifestyles, but actually, a lot of us have had an awfully challenging life. And I can't help but think, now I don't know because I've not looked at statistics or anything like that, but it stands to reason that the majority of people who get to live a very long life haven't had as much stress in their life, because stress literally kills us. It literally destroys us, doesn't it? One cell at a time, really. And and that's why it's really important that we learn to heal and adapt our mentality, focus more on positive things, and not dwelling so long on situations, because the longer you stay there, the less the shorten your lifespan. So yeah, I just started thinking about that in general, really. The importance really of living a balanced life, because it's going to sustain us through. So that means really that it's so important that we do heal. You know, it's not just for now, but it's for our future, because we might not have much of a future left. There's so many facets to it, of course, isn't it? You've got your mental health, but then of course it affects the pressure on our heart, which of course distributes all the organs and all stuff. There's so much going on within our bodies that most of us don't take time to think about. So it's crazy to think that some people just, they get to old age because they didn't have as much. Doesn't mean they didn't have anything in their life. People, no, I don't think anyone's life is going to be 100% peaceful. That's nigh impossible. Too many variables, too many factors. Um, even if, for instance, you didn't really have anything personal happen to you, you still lose loved ones. You still have to go through heartbreak, loss, tragedy, and that affects everybody. Affects everybody at different levels, of course, but. Some people handle setbacks better than others, but then some have some serious things in life. But yeah, it gets frustrating when life, I think, goes slower than you want, because there's an awareness that time is precious. So there's this double-edged sword, really. You can sort of like keep looking too far to the future, keep trying to maybe you're trying to you expect things to happen too soon. Maybe you're prioritizing, hastening a process, and maybe people say live in the moment more. And you can understand both sides of that. Live in the moment, because this moment won't last forever and it's going to be fleeting. And if you keep running, you're going to miss life. So there's that side of things where you just race through life and it's a waste of time. You've just missed life itself. So there is a beauty in just enjoying the moment. There's also a concern that if we wallow there for too long and don't take forward action, we are literally minimizing the sort of memories and the opportunities that could come in the future, because time is just so limited. Like, we don't have that much. So I think it really comes down to the experiences you want to have, like how much do you want to fulfill in this lifetime, and don't waste time, because literally you can't even guarantee tomorrow, let alone 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. I am not like, I have no anticipation of anything in the future, like in that sense. I've never ever thought at all that I'm going to have a long life. I've never thought it at all. Um, might be what pushes me on in general. I don't know, but there's an awareness in myself that I can't guarantee tomorrow. But I think that's a lot of pressure we put on ourselves. So my attitude every year, it's not a New Year's resolution, because I plan well ahead of that. I already plan next year, halfway through the previous year. I already have an idea of what I want to do next year. And if I can't achieve it, then let's say my time's up next year. Well, then I did the best I could this year and all the years before. So like even just book projects and things, I don't go with the attitude, oh, I've got my whole life to do that. That's it. I can't say that, because I don't know how long my life is. So what matters to me, and what do I want to do? I want to leave anything behind? You don't have to. I think living this experience is enough for most people. It's heavy enough. There's enough complications. It's challenging. just getting through this and having the experiences is an achievement in itself. But this isn't about leaving a legacy for myself. It's more like I want to give people the tools to improve their life. And if I can leave something behind that's going to help people with that, or potentially help, I can't guarantee because, things get lost in translation, society evolves. Sometimes things get like the context of it is never no longer relevant. So not everything is timeless. But if there's a chance I can help people, then that's what I dedicate my life to. So if I feel I have something in me that needs to be told and it would help people, then it's important for me to get that out, but not over pressurize myself. So I'm not overburdening it with like multiple books a year. My plan is one a year while I have it in me. Um, Hopefully one day I don't have it in me and I can have a break. But either way, I don't put the pressure on myself unnecessarily. It's through the understanding that I can't guarantee next year. So if I was to delay my book indefinitely this year, for instance, and I was to say I'm going to I'm going to do it next year, or I'm going to take a few years off here. I'm going to do it in about 3 years' time. I might not even be here in 3 years' time. I don't know. Who know? I don't know my end date, but there's a good chance, based on factors that we see, that there's a good chance I'll still be here this year. Hopefully, that's the thing. Hopefully, and that book does see the light of day. And then if something were to happen in the future, these books exist. Okay, there's other things that could have happened, and there's a potential for that. But we can only do so much. There's only so much time. So I think being productive to an extent that we're not wasting time, I think is enough. I could put pressure on myself unnecessarily. And then what would that do? That pressure would probably have a detrimental impact on my body's ability to maintain itself. And then you could literally lose years off your life because of the extra stress and pressure you put on yourself, the lack of rest. All these variables and factors have absolutely do have an impact on our quality of life, but also the length of life. So it's like a double-edged sword. You can be really, really productive, but to the detriment of your health. I saw something, I heard something in my, I think it's in my hometown. I can't remember exactly where it was, but I don't know if it was on the news. But it's back near before COVID. Someone got ill, and they should have had time off to recover at home, but they didn't. They just kept working, and they were doing these really long shifts, and they end up dying. They literally died because they didn't give their body like room to recover. And it's these tragedies, these senseless losses, because people are literally too ambitious, and they literally work themselves to death. Literally work themselves to death because they didn't give themselves time to recover when they needed. All they needed was to get over their illness. Instead, they made the illness worse than it had to be because they didn't literally give it time, but it's time, body time to heal. So there is that side of things, And I think that's what it's all about, really. I think for each of us, we have to ask ourselves those questions. Like, what does life mean to you? What do you actually want to achieve in this life? What experiences do you want to have? And how long do you anticipate having? Because it's not indefinite. No one has an infinite lifespan. We're not superheroes. So it's being pragmatic, be realistic with your expectations. I think too many people, they just go through life. They think they're invincible. It's ridiculous. Some people, they get health scares. They don't take action. Like, for instance, diabetes runs in my family. I'm not sure which one's hereditary. I don't think diabetes is hereditary, is it? I don't think that's something that can be transferred between people through DNA. But what it does, and this is the part that people miss, is family members, for instance, tend to have very similar lifestyle habits because it's what you're brought up with. So even though genetically you don't have the same tendencies and it's not an issue, it's really lifestyle choices. Because you probably share a very similar lifestyle choice, if someone in your family has diabetes, there's a chance you're going to run the risk of it. And a few people in my family have it. I'm not sure if I was told I was borderline something. I don't think I have a lot of sugar. Like, it's crazy. Like, I can eat a whole pack of donuts on my own. I can go through crazy stuff. And I've been doing that for years, to be totally honest. But since other people have been given a health scare, like one family member's literally, they actually have it now. It's not that one where you can get off it. I can't remember what one it is. I can't remember the terms now, but there's one where you can where you're very close to having it. Like, it's reversible, but then once you get to this other point, it's not reversible anymore. And that's what the family members got. And it's made me adjust my life. I'm looking at it more. Yeah, I'm accountable, and I talk about it all the time. So I don't say something and then do something different with my life. I'm just sharing what I do, and I'm transparent in that way. I'm not telling people do what I do. I'm just shining a light on things, you know. So I've got other family members, and this family member's taking it serious because they were told that based on the food they're eating, their cholesterol, their sugar, all this stuff, they could have been in it. They could literally have ended up in like they were very close to being in a coma and they didn't even realize. That's frightening, absolutely terrifying when you hear that. And I've got other family members who they don't take care of themselves and they act like they don't care. But deep down, I know I can see the insecurity in them, and I can see how terrified they would be if they literally were told you only have so long to live. It would put the fear of God in them. It would put the fear of God in most people, you know, because we all want to, we all have experiences we want to achieve. And I think if you're not achieving them, there's an incredible fear attached to that. Like, I have a lot of things I want to achieve, so there would be like regrets that are outside of my control if it would happen, if I was in a situation like that. But at the same time, there'd be an immense amount of pride in what I've done with the time I've had. You know, I'm 42 and I've had an awful lot of experiences and I've shared that experience. And I've even taken the time to create what I've done, you know, the books and the videos and all the audio books and all sorts of things I've done. I've tested myself. I've pushed myself outside my comfort zone. At 42 years old, I think I've done an enormous amount, like enormous amount in 42 years. So if my time happened at 42, I couldn't ask for more. I can't. You can only fit so much in a time frame. It's no. I can't. I've pushed my body, my mind, everything as far as I can in the time I've had. Now, if I'm afforded more time, I can do an awful lot, no doubt. But if my time come, I can't live with the regret because I can only do so much. But I think a lot of people, they don't take accountability of their life, you know, so they do waste time. They don't achieve what they set out to do. So they will add a deeper regret at the end because they literally wasted time. They got into toxic tendencies. They just got lazy, blah, 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 you know. But the other side is they don't respect themselves, so they don't look after themselves. So I'm aware that I haven't had I keep trying to get a check in because I got a text message. I can't remember when I got it, but it's like I'm due for a checkup just because I'm in my 40s now, so I'm 42. I'm just due a checkup. I wasn't really that interested, but now I am. So yeah, before I have that checkup, because it's hard to get these appointments, it's so hard to get the doctor on the phone in the UK. It's a bligging nightmare. But I'm like, you know what? I don't need them to tell me anything at this point. I just need to adapt my life anyway. So if they gave me good news, you still have to take care of yourself because you don't want to get put in a situation where that's coming. Just because it's good today, who knows tomorrow? At the same time, if they gave me bad news, I still have to work on myself. So rather than wait for someone to tell you you're this or you're that, just work on your life now. So yeah, I'm cutting down on things. I'm not just trying to eradicate entirely. I'm hoping I can be at a point that's healthy enough, you know, because I think life boring. I'm hearing what, like, for instance, the person who has the serious side of diabetes has now. They literally can't eat sugar. So they're having to really, you can't eat potatoes, you can't eat anything. It's like, oh my God, how boring is life? Like, it's so crap. Like, you come on, there has to be limits in there. But when it comes to things like that, there's no lenience. You literally, your life is in your hands at that point. So do you lean on habits and addictions, or do you lean on your health? So I think if you can understanding that side of life, it's important that we adjust accordingly. So, like, for instance, if I don't want to go through life not being able to have sugar at all. So then I better take accountability now before I can't have sugar at all. And I think that just makes sense, doesn't it? So even like a chocolate bar, I would normally sit there with a couple of chocolate bars, have my biscuits, my cookies, whatever you want to call them in America, for instance. I'd have my hot tea, my coffee, and I've got a couple of sugars in there. But I'm innately aware now, and I'm someone that's a bit OCD with that anyway. I'm quite analytical and I'm very observant, and I'll drive myself nuts in the best of times. With things like this, I'm really, really on it. So I'm aware that there's too much consumption of sugar in a day, and if I can halve that at least, I think I'm going way beyond halving it now, just because I know every time I have something now, I don't know what that's doing to my body, and is that thing going to be the one that pushes me into diabetes? That's what my head's doing now, and I think it's important my head does do that. Um, and then when I do have something, I'm not enjoying it as much because I'm aware that was that worth the risk. But you know, we have to be there because it holds us accountable. It causes us to look and go, you know what, this is serious. You are aware of it. And if I know I'm not having as anywhere near what I was having before, the consumption of it, then when I do have something, I know instinctively that you're not being reckless. You know, you're managing it and you're doing well. Like, I'm trying to add water to my diet now. Like, I like sodas. I like my hot drinks, and I'll have them every time instead of pure water. Now I'm getting my bottled water and I'm mixing it in the day. It's refreshing anyway. Cold water, of course it is. Um, and I know that's flushing the system a little bit as well. It's giving the body what it needs, the hydration. Um, and again, this is me taking accountability. I can't tell someone to do that. You can't force someone to change a habit, for instance. It's like people have to want to do it for them. But although I don't fear the end, I'm not rapidly trying to escalate it either. Because there's a lot I do want to achieve in this lifetime. There's a lot of experiences I do want to have. I do want to have happy memories. Life's been hard for so long, for all of my life. And I'd like to have a bit of bliss in my life. And I'd like to afford myself the opportunity to experience that before my time is up. It'd be a bit sad to go through life going through one tragedy and trauma after another, so many toxic situations. You document it, you share it, you overcome it, and you have another problem and another problem. You overcome it, you share it, because you're trying to lead by example. You're trying to show people the way out, how you overcome it, the resilience. But it'd be nice at some point if I get a fairy tale too. Like, it'd be nice to have that moment. Like, we all deserve it, especially when we've done the healing. Um, but I have to give my body, I have to give my body the chance to carry me there. So yeah, it's up to. There's no point people looking on at old age and just assuming you're going to get there if you're not doing anything about it. We've got to look after ourselves. That includes exercise. I'm not exercising anywhere near enough. I always find that strange. Like, we do sports when we're younger, but then later on our bodies struggle with what we used to do, and it loses. We lose an attachment to it. It's quite sad, really, because those are the things we enjoy. And then eventually we turn to artificial ways. Like, I've got a bike at home, like the cycle one where you just, it gets boring though, and it's like, these are, because they're artificial, it just doesn't fit right. But we have to keep our body moving, and not everybody has jobs or daily routines that have us being a body, moving in general. So we don't get what it doesn't get what it genuinely needs. So we have to come up with artificial ways to do it as well. I prefer more natural ways, maybe go for a walk and things, but like where I am, it's more of a drive to get somewhere where you can literally have that opportunity. So it's not practical. Again, maybe one day in the future I'll have things on my doorstep and I'll have a beautiful life, and I can't help but think that would be really nice, because there's things I would absolutely love to have. I just want a healthy life, healthier lifestyle that's easy to maintain. Um, and it gives you a clearer mind. Of course, you put a lot of toxins in your body, a lot of addictions, habits, and things. Obviously, it's going to cause some problems with the neurons, and it'll make you more tired, make you irritable, make you maybe be confused, all sorts of things. These are detrimental to your health anyway. But yeah, like I say, most people, they anticipate old age, but when you look at your lifestyle and all the factors contributing towards your life, and the pressure on the mind and body, and you got to think, what makes you so confident that that's part of your destiny? Because even I don't think that for myself. I'm like, I'll go with the mindset 60. So I just got to want to achieve things before I'm 60. Um, and I'm already on the way to doing that. 42. I think it's 42. See, maybe my mind's going too. But again, you got to think that. You got to be aware of it. It's no point going through life thinking you're the same as you was all the way through, because even dementia carries. People get dementia later in life sometimes. So there's certain things that happen. Our mind can slow down, play tricks on us, and our body becomes less mobile a lot of times. So there's a huge window of life where we can make the most of it, maximize our potential and experiences. And I think too many people, they leave everything to when they're older. So and that seems quite naive to me, because if you're lucky to get there, and I say lucky, some people might see it as a curse because life's heavy enough. Do you really want to extend it? Um, so you'll either get there and have that retirement, that experience of old age, or you won't. But for the most part, there's not much you're going to achieve when you're there, because everything slows down, and sometimes you can't even care for yourself because everything fades. So yeah, I think personally, I think people put too much emphasis on old age. A lot of time, old age is just extending life. I see it as bonus chapters. It's not anticipated for everyone, and it's not always that beautiful. I'm not putting it down in any way, because some people do. You live a long life. They're happy. There's a lot of tragedy and loss you're going to experience the longer you're here. You're going to lose loved ones, those closest to you. It's going to get lonelier and lonelier. And again, if there's part of your life path, you'll have that experience. If you don't, people go maybe 60, maybe go 55, 50, and people lose their minds again. They went so young. It's like, yeah, but they obviously had enough of life that they had to experience. And a lot of time we're only repeating patterns. Once you've experienced enough of life, you're just having similar experiences over and over sometimes anyway. So I think it's less worrying about how long we're here and make the most of the time we have here. And that's what I think. And I personally think we should just definitely, if we look after our mental health, but also our physical health. And it's something I'm working on. Like, I'm not good with diet and nutrition and all that. That's not something I innately know about. I'd love to be in a relationship, for instance, where someone is good with those sort of things, or at least an awareness of, because I'm absolutely crap with it. And we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses. And that's something that I truly want to improve on, but I don't have that in me to be able to. You can do your research to an extent, but it's still like it's not there. Um, yeah, and it's my responsibility, of course. But again, we can. There's so many factors to life. I'm not going to just sit there and look through a nutrition book for the rest of my life and try and come up with meal plans. It'd be nice to be able to do that, but it's just that's not part of who I am. So I do my best to limit health concerns and whatnot, but there's a limit to what I can physically do because that's not my forte. But if someone else had an awareness of those things, it's like that's great because it helps extend my life. It'll make me feel healthier. I'll be better. It's like we get a balanced. We'll be happy. Because you have to put that in your mind. It's beautiful to have everything you want, of course, but those indulgences can kill you. If you think of a family, for instance, and I'm not trying to tell people to be like this because I think balance is in the middle. Personally, you couldn't. I'm not in. I'm not here to be a health freak, health fanatic. I'm not. It's not when I say that. I'm not saying it in a negative way. If you could be like that, that's beautiful because you give your body everything to sustain a long life. My priority isn't a sustained long life. It's to make the most of the time I have. It's not really to try and extend it to the point where I wasn't even supposed to, and I'm getting bonus chapters. I'm not really bothered about bonus chapters, if I'm honest. You can have people who destroy their body, drugs, alcohol, so much unhealthy food, just takeaways every day, all these things. They're just compounding on their misery. Their body is just heaving, it can't survive like this. You're just compounding on it. So you've got someone like that. And if you look at, for instance, you just look at their skin, you look at their energy, you can see the difference between the two. One looks incredibly run down, like they're literally dead on their feet. They're a shell of a human. And the other one is like got all this energy. Their skin is beautiful and healthy, and all these things. And so you can see that you can literally see the difference between healthy eating people who actually look after themselves, and someone who has no respect for themselves and just gives in to toxic tendencies. So you can see the difference. But I do feel like down the middle's fairer. Like I think I'm down the middle sort of thing. I would assume. I don't think I look like I'm radiating full health, but I don't think I look like I'm gaunt or like almost like a zombie. I don't think I'm like that level. So there is like a balance in the middle. And I'm trying to lean a little bit more towards the healthy side. Like I'd rather move that way slightly than move the other way slightly, if that makes sense. Anyway, this was just an awareness really. I think it's important that people look at their life and the experiences they want, and then even contemplate why. Because I personally think that I've got opinions on a lot of things, and it's not always like that's reality. I'm not trying to say that's the be all and end all. Like what I say is gospel. I'm just saying that's my opinion on life. And there's so many variables, so you couldn't possibly say that's the be all and end all. So I'm not saying that, but from my opinion, for the majority of people, I think people who want to extend life, so they don't want life to end, they want it to keep going on. There's two sides of this, from my opinion. One is you've lived a great life, a happy life, you just don't want it to end. This is like heaven as it is. And some people do have that. So some people think, oh, that's fake. That's fake for what your experience is. We're all having different experiences here, aren't we? So some people don't go through all the struggles or the turmoil, and they've got like comfort around them. They're happy. For other people who want to get to old life, I think personally, they're sort of dithering through life. They want to get to old life. They want to live to old age because it gives them longer to fulfill their dreams. They keep putting things off. So there's a fear that if they didn't get to old age, that life would pass them by and they would miss the opportunity to fulfill whatever they set out to do. But for me, it's naive to think that little extended chapters is going to be enough to fulfill the goals you set. That's what I think personally. You should be able to do enough in your lifetime between the age or up to about 60 years old. You should have had enough experiences in that time frame to be proud of yourself. And if you haven't got, by that age, if you haven't done those things, then you've got to ask the questions: what held you back? Why didn't you do it? And what makes you think these bonus chapters, for instance, are going to be enough to get you there when you've had 60 years to do something. Of course, there's like the toddler at the age, let's go up to about 18. So you've got, but even a 60-year-old's had over 40 years of adult life to have some incredible experiences. So what makes you think any extra chapter after that is really going to be the thing that just changes everything? It's just naive. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't want people to think, oh, you went too soon when my time comes. I went when the time's right, and I didn't waste time. And yeah, more could be achieved, but you could say that about anyone, couldn't you? Like anyone that goes, you could always say, oh, they could have done more. They could have done this, could have done that. That's the same for anyone though. There's always potential. If time was infinite, limitless, yeah, we can do everything. Of course we could. Live like a vampire and do live like multiple lives in different roles. That's not what we're here to do. Make the most of time and give yourself the best opportunity to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. Everybody's goals are not the same. So just because I'm ambitious and I want to do things that help humanity, because that's just part of my path, I don't say it for effect. I don't. I live I live by what I say. I sacrifice a lot for what I do, but it's because it goes beyond me. And it's just and I accept that. So my life's hard. There's an awful lot of poverty, there's struggles, there's hardship. I get fed up just like everyone else. But I look on and think, yeah, okay, I'd love to have that life, and I'd love to have that life, and I'd love to be able to do that. But we only have so many years. I can't sit there and keep wallowing and looking around what I want, what I feel I deserve, if I've got something to achieve. Because our time, we're gonna have to be realistic. Our time will come when we're not here. So sometimes the things we put such emphasis on in the overall scheme of life, it doesn't matter. It'll be forgotten. A lot of us will be forgotten. Our life will be short. We get 60 years old. Some will go at 40. Some will go at 20. Some will get to old age. It's life. But people, they think everything they do is like gold. And it's like, you just think like, even just living a normal life, like people will remember you. People forget. We fade into the distance. And that's life because other people have to come and have an experience and they have to be known. We can't just expect to always be like immortalized and everybody just remembers us and pays homage to us and things. That's not the point. So yeah, I think we put too much emphasis on certain things, thinking it's important. But in 100 years, maybe 20, 30 years after you're gone, it's vanished. It's forgotten. It's like you was never here. But the way I see it is the contribution we have on others is far more significant. Because even if you forget about my books and me trying to help people and leave something for humanity, whether it's worthy, that's for people to decide in the future. Even if it wasn't that, sometimes something as simple as the impact we have on people's lives today is enough. That can make a profound change after you've gone, even if you never get recognition. For instance, how you raise your children will then apply that potentially to the way they raise their children, for good and bad. So if you're a positive parent, you do good parenting, your child gets raised properly, and then they can raise their children properly if they have children. And they become that role model. So your legacy lives on through them and then through the others. But they don't realize that next generations won't know who you were. They may not know the influence you had, but you've set that trend. Now, if you're a negative person and you're not the best of parents and it's quite toxic household, you may push that onto your child. Now, of course, every time someone has an experience, it's up to them whether they want to be the chain breaker or they repeat the pattern. So even if you've had a toxic childhood, it doesn't mean you have to sort of like push it forward. You can literally learn from that. Say, I'm not doing that for my children. I know all that wasn't right. That wasn't, and you be the chain breaker. But a lot of people, they don't. They repeat the toxicity. So if that's the legacy that's a legacy you may leave on. So there's certain parts of us that live on. That you would never get credit for, but you had an impact, and that's the point. Like we all have impacts on people, for positive, for good and bad. And we live on in that. For most people, we live on through that way. So yeah, it's really important we take accountability in our life, I think, and think about like what life do you want, what do you want to leave behind, and what impact do you want to have on others. And I think just running around aimlessly, pursuing solely the material in this world, lording over others, going on power trips, not being supportive, it's, for me personally, an entire waste of life. So when people see me do things and it's a selfless act, some people will be skeptical, but it's because they don't understand my path. It's bigger than me. I don't get lost in life. I don't. And it's like, I just see life in a different way to the majority of people. You give me a load of money. I'm not there to just go and buy sports cars and buy loads of things and say I'm better than everyone else. That's not who I am. I would treat myself to nice things because it'd be nice to have experiences just like other people. If you was given an opportunity, it'd be nice to have this. But I'd still always help people. I'd always give my time to where I can. Obviously, I have to prioritize my own happiness too and have my own experiences. So it can't always be at the detriment of that. So I think that's learning through life, isn't it? That's accountability, and it's just setting boundaries and knowing when we can, like when we can't help someone and when we can help someone. Um, Being fair with ourselves. So there's all those levels. But I actually get a lot of joy from helping people. It lights me up inside. It makes me proud, and it's something that, in all honesty, money couldn't replace. You could give me £1 million and I can go and buy a sports car. I can go and have this experience, that experience. They'll be nice for a moment, but it's the moments when you help people and you see their life transform, or you give them something. It just something in them is igniting. For me, that's priceless. You've contributed something real special that's had an impact on someone's life, and a sports car doesn't replace that. And that's just a feeling I have inside. And that's why I do what I do. So yeah, it would be nice to have good things in my life, and it'd be nice to have that, of course. But I've done a lot of things over the past 5-6 years at the detriment of finances, to do something that I consider more important and significant, even if I haven't been rewarded for it, because it's bigger than me. My time will come when I'm not here. And I made peace with that. I made peace with that a long time ago. I don't walk around terrified of things like this. It's just it. If you got to think of it this way, this isn't preempting anything, and I wouldn't encourage people to preempt at an early end because that's not good at all. I think if you wake up, you're here for a reason. There's something to learn. There's something to experience. Um, Something to achieve, of course. Um, but if I was to go tomorrow, or I was to go in 20 years, what difference does it make? Like, think about it. What difference does it make? Where you're going? Does it really matter when? Um, and that's how my mind works. It's like, so I'm not scared of that sort of thing. It's like I'm going to go. I've made peace with that a long time ago. I'm going to go, but let's have as many positive experiences as we can in this lifetime. And when we go through something challenging, let's overcome it. Let's find the wisdom in it, the answer, and and then I'll document it and help other people who go through something similar, so they don't waste their life. Let me help you figure out how to overcome this, so you can get on with the transition onto the next phase, so you can have some more beautiful experiences in the limited time you have, rather than compound your misery and go through it and go through this long-winded approach that you might not be able to get out of because not everybody can. Um, and that's literally what I try to do: give people the opportunity to live longer, fulfilling lives rather than burden themselves and shorten their lifespan with stress, because it's just not good. So old age isn't in in all of our destinies, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad thing either. It's all about just living life and making the most of it, and I think just respecting ourselves and others.